Hi you guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought it would be cool to take you through my entire fitness journey because I realized I haven't really taken you guys from like A to Z from how I got to where I am today. And I've been an athlete for almost 18, 19 years now, so there's been a lot of different phases I've gone through. And while some of them kind of feel like a past life now, I feel like it could be really helpful maybe to talk about some of the things I went through and how I overcame them and kind of got to that healthy place that I am today. And sorry guys, bear with me, I have a little bit of a cold, but I'm feeling good and I'm excited to talk about this today. Alright, so you guys probably know that I'm a fencer, but before I was a fencer, I was actually a gymnast for a few years. I really liked doing somersaults and just like being a kid, and my mom says that I was a gymnast since I was in the womb. Like I was somersaulting all the time. So naturally when I was born, she pretty much signed me up for gymnastics, and I happened to be pretty good at it. However, I think I got to level 6 or 7, far along in the industry, competitively as a gymnast. And I got to a point where every single person at my level had broken a bone except for me. And that made me feel terrified. Not to mention, I was also really terrified of heights. And so I decided that I was the next person to break a bone. So I decided that I didn't love it enough to put myself at risk. I really didn't want to break a bone. I still haven't broke a bone today, and I'm 27 now. It was my birthday last week. Knock on wood that I don't break a bone. But so I ended up quitting gymnastics, and then I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I had nothing to really do. I tried very traditional sports like field hockey, soccer, lacrosse. I ended up not liking like ball sports like soccer and basketball, those types of things. Obviously not basketball. And I liked more of like the stick type sports. So like I liked field hockey, I liked lacrosse, I was good at it, I was fast on the field. But I also just didn't love it. It didn't light me up. So I was 9 years old and I was sitting on the couch. I remember my mom asked me, "What do you want to try?" And I said, I just watched Peter Pan. Like I was young, so bear with me guys. I told her I wanted to sword fight like Peter Pan, like they did it in that movie, and she thought that was super weird but awesome. And she found a place about 45 minutes away from our house, and she brought me for my first lesson. I remember that day like no other. It was like I had fenced in a past life. I knew all the moves. I barely had to be taught anything. I just naturally took to the sport, and I ended up, as you guys know, fencing for about 18 years, all the way through the Grand Prix level, which is a step below the Olympics, World Cups, traveling, went to college for it. It was a huge part of my life. But as I got older, I obviously became more aware of my body, and so I went through a fitness journey while at the same time being in an athletic competitive journey, and those goals do tend to clash, but fencing always took the priority. So I'm trying to pinpoint when I became really aware of my body. I know that I was very aware of it even in kindergarten, because people would make fun of me for not being able to reach the monkey bars and everything, so I just didn't play in the monkey bars. But I hadn't started thinking about my weight or like feeling insecure probably around 6th grade and 7th grade, when all my friends started getting boobs and I just didn't. I started to become aware of it then. I still wasn't thinking about my weight though. I wasn't thinking about fat or anything like that. I'm lucky that I have an amazing sister and mom and dad, and no one ever even made a small comment, because even a really small comment can launch someone into a path that is not healthy. I was lucky in that regard. No one ever called me anything. I wasn't really a chubby kid anyways. I was just pretty normal. But I did start to develop a fencer body because I was fencing, and fencing is like holding a squat for 30 minutes a day. And so you get really large thighs, usually asymmetrically developed. So you'll notice fencers have like a huge right thigh if they're a righty, and like a small left leg. And then like one bicep is huge and the other one's weak. So very asymmetrically developed. That started happening. And in high school, I felt good. I think it was my junior year of high school when I suddenly had the first thought of feeling, in terms of my weight, I felt fat, which is, looking back, I wish I could go and talk to myself back then and explain all the things, but we can't do that. We have to grow through our journey. So I don't really know what set it off. I think actually it might have been, that was a time when I think me and my friend went out and took pictures, and I looked at them and I felt like that didn't look like me. Like I looked overweight or chubby or something in my mind. I was being really harsh on myself. I had not really had a boyfriend yet, and I think I was in that high school mindset of just wanting to be loved, wanting to be seen as beautiful, and At the same time though, I was fencing and I felt very empowered through fencing. I felt so beautiful and so powerful and so confident in my abilities. So it was just a weird thing. I had these two worlds starting to collide. And so my junior year of high school was when I really started wondering, how do I look more fit by the industry standards, like the magazines? Like, I had never seen a petite woman on a magazine. Adidas and Nike ambassadors are all tall women, are very muscular in a very specific type of way. I just didn't feel like I looked like an athlete, even though I was an athlete at a very high level. And that made me upset, because when people looked at me, I felt like they didn't see me as a sporty, athletic person. I mean, this was probably my own you never know. You shouldn't spend time thinking about what other people think of you, because you make a lot of assumptions. You don't know what they really think. I remember I decided I'm gonna follow the magazine. Oh, this was terrible. I'm gonna follow what the magazine tells me to do to lose fat. This was the time I was 17, 16. I was like reading Cosmopolitan. Like, ugh. I'm sorry, I don't like that publication. I haven't read it in 10 years, so I don't know if it's changed, but back then I read it and it told me to do ab exercises to diet, and I wanted to lose fat and look toned. And I started restricting my food just to see. I started really getting hungry. Like, I remember I'd wake up, wouldn't eat breakfast. I'd go to the cafeteria at lunch. I went to boarding school for high school so that I could fence. So I remember I went to the cafeteria and I didn't want to socialize, because then I'd end up eating more. So I literally would go in, take a piece of bread and a piece of deli meat turkey, go back to my dorm room and eat it alone, because I was just like, if I'm socializing with people, I'll probably eat more. That's how extreme it got, which was, at the time I didn't know. But when these types of behaviors start to modify and change your relationships with people or interfere, it's really not a good sign. On top of that, I started over-exercising like crazy. I started doing sprints. I remember I went to this field where no one even worked out, because I didn't want anyone to know I was doing this. I don't know why. I was probably just scared and trying to figure out how to feel good in my body, even though I felt so good when I was fencing. If I was on the fencing strip, that was like a different me. But when I was just like trying to feel like a woman and coming into my female woman body, I didn't feel it yet. So I would go to this field and do sprints for 45 minutes. Like, I don't even know how my body handled that, because sprints are very, very high impact and really bad on your joints. I guess because I was so young, I was able to be okay. I didn't get injured. But I would do them a lot. And I was restricting, I was hungry, and then I was doing these sprints. And then on top of that, I'd go to practice every night for another 2.5 hours. And we would all run at practice for like 10 minutes. I would get there early and run like 30 minutes before, and then people would just join me before class. I was just like doing so much running and so much cardio, because I thought that was what I needed to do. I ended up losing a lot of muscle, but I still maintained a lot of my leg muscle, but I did lose a little bit of fat, but I looked skinny. And I remember it was the first time in my life I had abs, but it was like done the unhealthy way. And I knew it was the unhealthy way, because it was 100% unsustainable. Unfortunately, everyone told me I looked amazing, which, fueled problem, because it wasn't amazing. It wasn't anorexic or anything, but it just wasn't a healthy way to get to that physique. And also can't maintain it because your muscle mass is so low and you've lowered your metabolism. I'll speak for myself. I've lowered my metabolism so much. And so at that point, I knew it was unsustainable, and just with fencing and everything, I knew I had to start eating more again. And I bounced back. I gained the weight back. It was probably like 5 pounds. I, stopped training abs and stopped sprinting and stopped restricting my food. So from there, I kind of went back to my normal self. I went off to college. I didn't have too much of a freshman 15, but I did start over-exercising again. I would say the peak of my unhealthy relationship with food happened in college, because there's so much culture of drinking in college and eating not fresh foods. You don't have time to really create a really, really healthy lifestyle, because you live with people. You can, and if I went back to college now, or if I got a master's or something, which I'm not going to do probably, but if I did, I would do it differently. I'd have a lifestyle. I would make sure it was healthy. But back then it was hard, and I didn't really know what I needed to do. So I just remember I launched myself into the eat food and then try to exercise it off. I remember having food, or if I overate at dinner, or if I just ate something and didn't feel good, I would stay up till like 1 a.m. in my bedroom doing HIIT exercises, like, I don't even know, like burpees and body weight stuff, like just needed to like get my heart rate up and sweat. I felt like a compulsion to exercise off food I ate, which is very unhealthy. You know, eat food and then you can't just immediately burn it off doing a bunch of exercise. I did that for probably a year. I did a lot of exercise. I would work out twice a day, and I also would restrict just for certain events. You know, if I had like a date, or if I had a college event where I had to wear a dress, I would restrict 3 days or 2 days before the event. Really not eat a lot, like graze food, so I would, you know, feel like I looked good. And then immediately the event was over, I would eat a lot of food and feel bad about myself. And that cycle was pretty much the end of college. It was terrible. When I went abroad, I was going through a breakup. This was my junior year of college. And I was not depressed, but I felt that way. And when I was in Spain, I didn't have control over the food I was eating because I lived with a house mom and she cooked my food, but she mostly cooked microwave dinners. And I started exercising to an extreme. I started running 10 miles a day. I got a stress fracture on my foot as a result pretty quickly, in like a week into doing that. You can't just increase your cardio like that. Your body just can't handle it. And I was still fencing. So I was then at a really bad point because I was abroad. I couldn't control the food I was eating, and I also couldn't run. I was on crutches and a cast. So I gained about 5 pounds then, and I felt really, really bad about myself. But it was still an experience that I appreciate because mentally it made me tougher. When I got back to the US, I actually lost the fat pretty quick, but I remember like being at the Christmas time and looking at those photos and just seeing the weight on my face and my body and trying to cover it up and just feeling ashamed. And that felt awful. And so I started, exercising, and I lost the weight again. However, I do also remember a time, this was in college, not anymore. It's been many years since I've been in college, but in college I did binge eat, not in a disordered way, but not in a healthy way. I remember going to, it's like the Whole Foods or Trader Joe's of upstate New York. I forget what it was called. Wegmans. And I would buy a cereal box. My friend would drive us home, and before we got home, which was a 5-minute drive, I would have eaten the entire cereal box. Like, that's just what I did. I loved cereal. I could eat like cereal for every meal. There's absolutely no nutrients in cereal. It's mostly sugar and processed food. So there's no reason to eat cereal at all as a part of your diet, especially not in binge eating it. The way I got over that, I could probably make a separate video on just how I got over those binge eating tendencies. I would always feel so awful afterwards and regret it, and then go try to exercise it off. When I graduated from college, or around the end of that, when I graduated, I started to get really into fitness, like in a way I never had before. I was learning like scientific things about the body. I also was working in pharmaceuticals, so I was reading scientific studies, and I was like lifting weights for the first time in my life, a little terrified about it. I didn't know if it'd make me bulky or what would happen. I just knew I could not do the cardio anymore. Like, I spent for 6 months after college, I took a break from fencing, and I would get up at 5 a.m. and run the track up. I lived up in Harlem on the west side. I would run that west side track like for 45 minutes. I never felt good. Like, I don't know why I did it for so many years. And when you do the same thing, you get the same result. You have to do something different to get a different result. But I just didn't know that. Even though I was a successful athlete and, felt really powerful in my body and everything. So when I started getting into lifting, that's when I had a huge shift, like mindset shift, body shift, eating habit shift. It actually changed the way I eat. I used to eat kind of processed, like if I ate broccoli, I'd put cheese on it. I would do unnecessary things like that. It was really hard for me to eat healthy all the time. I still crave sugars. When I started lifting, everything changed. My cravings changed. I got muscle mass, so my metabolism went up. I got into lifting, and I pretty much taught myself, along with my boyfriend Gary. He also taught me a lot. And he had a couple of years weightlifting when he was in college, so he had a little bit of experience. And I started to talk to my trainer friends and just try to build up my knowledge. I got a gym membership when I moved to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I went to Retro Fitness and started actually lifting. And I became friends with the trainers. I was such a regular that everyone just knew, like, oh, this girl's working on herself. And I was also fencing a lot. So I had goals for my body, and then I had goals from a performance standpoint. To be powerful in fencing for me and my body, it meant that I needed really big thighs, which is great. I felt good about that because they were serving a purpose for me. I really needed power, and power is a lot of muscle, and you're carrying it around. So I was constantly at conflict with myself. I wanted a different body, but then I'd be like, but I'm happy. I love feeling good in my body as a fencer. Like, I feel powerful. But then, I would have moments where I maybe wished that I could change it. And during that time, I said, okay, in addition to fencing 5, 6, 7 days a week, twice a day, I'm going to do BBG. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. It was kind of the peak where everyone was doing it. So I thought, oh, well, here's finally the answer. I did it for 56 weeks, pretty much didn't like any of it. And I mean, it's a good program for some people, but it's too much high intensity interval training. It's very, very stressful on the body, and I didn't see any results. I got through it, took the photos, absolutely zero, nothing happened. That was really disappointing, but also glad that I did it because I got that experience. And this was before I understood the whole petite metabolism and discovered the link between high metabolism and all that. So it was just a stepping stone in the journey. After that, I pretty much just said, I'm gonna focus on my weights, and I got my personal training certification just because I was interested. I didn't have an intention of using it yet. And then I discovered that I wrote this program for myself. I got that transformation. I've talked about this a few times, and I thought, holy bananas, this program is amazing. It was the first time I started to see results in 18 years of like trying so many things and the cardio and all that. And you know, I've told the Smalletics story a lot on this channel before, but when I figured out that height and metabolism were correlated and that I had designed this program that fit the petite metabolism perfectly, getting the muscle up, the right amount of HIIT, the right amount of lifting, exercises, everything, it was like that magic moment for me. And I finally found this kind of great overlap between being an athlete and feeling really sexy and powerful in my body, lifting weights, and also that affected my whole diet because now I could eat more food and I ate cleaner and just felt a lot better. I at this point like no longer tried to burn off calories I ate, and it's actually really hard for me to remember those other versions of myself. I kind of forgot a lot of those times I went through, but when I look back at my journals, I know that it was a huge struggle for me. I wrote about it all the time, about how I was going to be good and eat good, and then I would not, and then I'd write about how sad I was and I couldn't keep a promise to myself. But I eventually got to this point where none of that even is a part of my inner talk anymore, or it's just so habituated for me that there's no more of these struggles. Of course, I still work really, really hard, and it's never easy, but it's a lot easier than it used to be now that I've figured out what to do with my body. Where I currently am, I actually retired from fencing last September to focus on Smalletics because I love it so much. It brings me so much joy to work with you guys. And I also decided I would hire a coach at that time because I had no time. I was programming for all of my clients. I was doing just no time. I want to focus on you guys. That's my priority. So I hired a coach, and I just told her, hey, like, I just want to continue doing what I'm doing. Can you write my workouts? And, you know, I'll tailor them to myself given what I know about my metabolism and what I need. I also told her, hey, I have a lot of lower body muscle that I would like to redistribute. I'd like to have a more built upper body and lose muscle on my legs, which I never wanted to lose muscle in my life. I couldn't even believe I had said that out loud because I love having muscle and I loved feeling powerful as a fencer. But ending my career in fencing was a difficult choice for me, and having that fencer body was just a daily reminder that I didn't fence anymore. And I just emotionally really wanted to start fresh and give lifting my all without the pressure of fencing and having that athletic, functionally like performance-based physique. I wanted just like to play and have fun and explore what my body could do. I've never really gone in the gym and had cosmetic goals before or explored that, and I just thought this could be really fun and I'm going to learn a lot about myself. So Sam helped me redistribute, basically lose muscle in my legs. I don't want to lose any more. I still have thick legs. I love them. And build my upper body, basically doing the same thing I was before. I just wasn't fencing anymore, so I wasn't doing that extra squatting stuff from fencing. And where I am today, I work out 5 days a week. I love working out. I do a combination of my coach and my own programming. I do a little bit of cardio, kind of depends. My food, it kind of fluctuates. Sometimes I cook for myself, I meal prep. Sometimes I order a meal prep service. I'm currently using Eat Clean Bro because I don't have time to cook. And that helps me a lot because I can still track my macros. I actually forgot to talk about macros. I started counting macros like 3 years ago and did it on and off for a long time. I did learn a lot about food at that time. It was a huge learning experience. And now today I teach macros not as a lifestyle. It is not a lifestyle. I don't care who you ask. You can't do it for your whole life. But it's a great education tool because it trains your eye to understand what you need so that when you take away the scale and you stop tracking, your eye still knows I need this much of that, this much of that, this much of that. And that's it. You don't have to think about it anymore. That helps you stay in a rhythm and also continue to see results. I still track my macros. I change them sometimes based on goals. Like if I have a shoot, I used to kind of just show up for a shoot and be me, but now my coach has taught me how to properly prepare for a shoot, so I do that. And yeah, I eat all the carbs, I eat the fats, I eat the protein, I drink a gallon of water a day, and I just feel really good. And when I look back on that other version of myself, I'm just amazed at how far I've come. There's so much mental work that goes into your health journey. We're all somewhere different, you know, but I would absolutely love to hear from you guys. What has your journey been with fitness? Do you also feel like you've gone through like 9 lives of fitness and different things happening? And if you would like a more in-depth video about either the body recomposition I went through, how I got over binge eating, or anything I talked about, if you want me to expand on it, please comment below. And if this video helped you in any way or you just enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and I will chat with you guys real soon. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. All right, bye you guys, see you.